Hello, my captivating cavaliers of the calling internet. I have information for you about Jeffrey Epstein. Or more so, I think I'm the only person still talking about Jeffrey Epstein because there's been this thing in the back of my mind growing each day. It's about Ghislane Maxwell. Ghislane Maxwell actively might get a pardon based on what we're seeing right now. But you guys probably didn't even know that Ghislane Maxwell could be getting a pardon because I feel like I'm the only person keeping up with the Epstein Files because I'm going to talk about the distractions from the Epstein Files because people keep telling me, well, they discovered a 4 new species of aliens. The U.S. government confirmed it, and I want to talk about this because I got this article sent to me, and so I read the article. Now, today, I'm going to talk about the distractions in Epstein because some psychopath, some absolute nut, some macadamia has actively told me to read this article. So I'm going to read the article. U.S. government has recovered 4 alien species from UFOs, says ex-CIA researcher. Now, little known fact, I used to make articles. Right, I used to be somebody that makes articles. I know that this is false immediately because it says, right? It says. This is the most important. If you ever want to learn how to read a headline and actively learn when it's actually BSing you, look for this one. Says. If it's not an official claim, it's not going to say says. This is the worst word you can see in an article. Ex-CIA researcher. So we don't know their clearance. We don't know what level of security they're at because they just said U.S. government has recovered 4 alien species from UFOs. It feels official because they say, oh, it's ex-CIA. They got this going on. He knew something crazy. The U.S. government has recovered 4 species of aliens from crashed UFOs, a former CIA researcher has claimed. Now, this is important. Claimed is a very important term. Why is claimed a very important term? Because there's no confirmation that this actually happened. It's simply a claim made by these people. So let's go ahead and read this. The U.S. government has recovered 4 species of aliens from UFOs that have crashed on Earth. A former CIA researcher has claimed. Boom. We got this first sentence reiterated. People who have been involved in recoveries have said there are at least 4 types. Now, I have not had direct access to that, but I believe the people who have talked to. Now, this sentence right here immediately proves that I'm immediately correct about everything I'm guessing, that this is just conspiracy theory nonsense, and nobody has confirmed this as an official source. They are just saying words and nonsense and gobbledygook and garbage. Now, do I think there are aliens? I think there are alien species outside of Earth. I don't think there are people that are saying there's grays and 4-limbed and stuff. I think there are alien material within the atmosphere, and people are claiming that as alien species because it exists within space. Foreign is also a word for alien. I want to point this out. The way that the U.S. government uses language is the same way lawyers use language. So when you hear alien, what we're actually hearing is foreign material. Anything foreign to Earth soil or even U.S. soil could be deemed as alien material. As a matter of fact, an illegal immigrant's piss is alien material. When you really get real specific with it, I could claim that if I picked up the fecal matter of somebody from Mexican and tossed it over the border, that'd be alien material. Illegal alien material. Actively, and it would come from an alien. That is how specific the wording is when it comes to this stuff. So let's talk about this, right? 4 separate types of life. Interesting. Now, this is real specific. 4 separate types of life. CIA researcher Hal Puthoff claimed on the Diary of a CEO podcast. Now, this was on a podcast. Okay, now we're getting real specific. Now, most people won't get this far in an article because they refuse to read this far. So, while Puthoff did not go into specifics, his longtime collaborator, Eric Davis, okay, Eric Davis, what's going on, said last year that the 4 species are Greys, Nordics, Insectoids, and Reptilians. In the same podcast, filmmaker. Oh, we had a filmmaker with a CIA agent. This is interesting. So we had a filmmaker with a CIA agent. Okay. Dan Farah said that there have been dozens of recoveries of crashed craft in the U.S. alone. Dozens of crafts of non-human origin that either crashed organically or have caused a crash and then recovered. Why are we listening to a filmmaker named Dan Farah? Is there a reason? Does he have any pedigree? Let's check Dan Farah for a moment. Maybe I'm dumb. Is Dan Farah of any... Okay, he's just an American producer, filmmaker. Does he have any pedigree in any capacity? He made Ready Player One. Okay, that's cool. He made The Phenomenon, Alter Ego, Rock the Beats. I'm just confused why Dan Farah... And maybe we can go to his Wikipedia page. Maybe I'm missing something. Okay. He's a film producer and director. He's a graduate of Columbia High School. He has no pedigree. What pedigree does this man have in any... This is it. This is the entire page. Why are we listening to him? Why did he even include him in the article? This is filmmaker Dan Farr. What was the point? How does he know this? Why do we care about that? Why do we care about his opinion? As a matter of fact, why do we care about Hal Puthoff? How long has it been since Hal Puthoff has actively been in the U.S. Army? Maybe we can look that up, because nobody looks up these names I'm discovering. Oh, he's old. He's tenured. Okay. Howard E. Puthoff. Okay. He's very old. Okay. Let's see. Parasology and pseudoscience. Okay. He loves... Okay. Took an interest in the Church of Scientology. Interesting. So we're listening to a man from the Church of Scientology? Oh, interesting. We're listening to a star seat? Okay, Puthoff took an interest in Church of Scientology and later researched what was then the top of OTV level by Puthoff wrote of his wins for his Scientology publication, claiming to have achieved remote viewing abilities called exteriorization in Scientology in 1984. Puthoff also wrote a piece of Scientology Celebrity Magazine saying that Scientology gave him a feeling of absolute fearlessness. Puthoff severed all connection with Scientology in the 1970s. Okay, I'm just kind of curious here. There's not much about him. They consider him to be an engineer and a what is a, and maybe I'm dumb here. I've never heard of a parapsychologist. I don't know what a parapsychologist is. That feels to be a little bit of a falsehood of a term. I'm not sure what that term means. Maybe we can research parapsychologists, because I'm feeling parapsychology is study of psychic phenomena, extrasensory perception, telepathy, interpretation, psychokinesis. Okay, so we're listening to somebody who is an engineer, which he could be an engineer. I'm not going to discredit engineering. And a parapsychologist. He's known for paranormal research. Okay, so we're listening to this guy. Right, we're listening to the guy. CIA researcher Hal Puthoff. Now, this is super important, because this is what we started here. U.S. government has confirmed 6'4" aliens, says ex-CIA researcher. Has he worked for the CIA? Has this man worked for the CIA? He was a part of the CIA? Where? Where does it say he worked for the CIA? Where? I'm so confused. Where does it say he has worked for the CIA? What's the PhD in electrical engineering? Who's the CIA agent? Ex-CIA researcher. Okay, I'm just very curious here. He's going by word of mouth claims from his friends. And this is interesting to me, because this doesn't mean anything. This is pretty much worthless information. They don't even tell me, okay, the development comes days after the Trump administration released the first tranche of alien files. Oh, alien files. Okay. Now, this is super important, because little white dots, experts question quality of UFOs files. Obviously, you're going to question the quality of it, because if you read the files, they're complete garbage. Days after the U.S. Department of Defense released around 160 files, instantly the files offered little significance. While speaking to Reuters, McWest and an unidentified anonymous phenomena analyst said the acquirers offered quantity over quality. He also maintained the videos shared by the department only showed little white dots that cannot be identified due to their size. I think what we have here is quantity over quality. A lot of the files we have are old files that we have from the FBI. They were released years ago. Some of it dates back to the 40s and 50s, West told Reuters. The videos are not really particularly interesting. The videos are all the information on the screen are redacted, so the boxes that are covering the screen will tell you what's actually going on in the video. Interesting, but we all we see are little white dots moving around the screen, which we are unable to identify. That's basically it. He just released a big quantity. He did this stuff when he released all the Epstein files, just doing this oversaturation strategy. So it's not much going on here. Let's get back to this, because this is kind of important to me. I'm very curious about this. So U.S. government has occurred 4 things. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, hold up a second. Give me one moment. Because this is wildly interesting to me. Because when you do a little bit of research, see how little research I did just to kind of debunk all the nonsense? This is interesting. This is very, very interesting. In the recent days, discussions around aliens and unidentified flying objects have surged in the United States, as many alien theorists and UFO users believe that disclosure day is near. The term refers to the eventual release of evidence that the governments have held for decades, confirming the presence of aliens. The disclosure movement has gained popularity in recent years as discussions around UFOs and aliens have increasingly entered the mainstream. Trump ordered the disclosure earlier this year after former President Barack Obama said that aliens were real. Now, this is very important. I want you to really look at this sentence. Look at this sentence. The reason he's doing this is to get back at Obama. Now, you may be wondering, why would he want to do that? Well, let's look at Obama. Let's just go to Obama. Let's go to his Wikipedia page. I'm going to Control F and look up Nobel Peace. Nobel Peace Prize. Because you go to Obama won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2009. Now, what does Trump want really, really bad? Trump, Nobel Peace. Trump really wants the Nobel Peace Prize. Like, he really, really, really wants it. Now, if we go to Donald Trump, right? If we go to Trump, we go to his Wikipedia page. And we look up Nobel Peace Prize. Let's look up Nobel Peace. Let's go ahead and see. He doesn't have a Nobel Peace Prize. As a matter of fact, only one result. It doesn't pop at all. Nowhere on Donald Trump's page, you can see up here, nowhere on Donald Trump's page does Nobel Peace. 0 matches. There are 0 matches for Nobel Peace. Now, why is that? That's because he doesn't have a Nobel Peace Prize, but Obama does. And he religiously wants to compare himself to Obama. So this is very important. But because Obama confirmed there was aliens, Donald Trump says, well, I can confirm there's aliens too. He is having a literal dick measuring contest with a black man because he cannot be inadequated by the previous Obama. So, Trump has set up interagency committee headed by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to oversee the release of alien files. Ooh, meet 4 alien species. Davis said last year two of the alien species reportedly recovered by the United States are called reptilian and insectoid, not because they are insects or reptiles, because they resemble to the perception reptile-like or insect-like humanoid, as they have a head and 4 limbs and torso. Davis said the grays were recovered in the famous Roswell UFO crash in June and July of 1945, according to Davis. Davis said the grays are about 4 feet tall, where the Nordics are typically human-sized at about 5 to 6 feet. Interesting. He added the reptiles and insectoids are similar to height, according to Davis. The New York Post reported suspected experts are saying the grays are believed to be small, large-eyed, hairless creatures comparable to depictions of films such as Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where reptilians are believed to scaly up creatures with human limbs and long tails that walk upright. Wow, that's it. That's kind of it. That's it. That's the entirety of the article. Now, this article was completely worthless to read, because people are going to read this and just immediately think that they should listen to this guy who practices parapsychology, and that's what they should listen to. There's only 2 people mentioned by name in this entire thing, so I'm led to believe that CIA researcher is a very, very generous title. Very, very generous title. Very generous title. Because from what I understand, this guy, Harold E. Puthoff, is not a CIA researcher. Or at least from what I understand, he who worked with NSA and CIA, advised by it. He's not really a CIA researcher from what I'm understanding. Right? From what I'm understanding, he's not really a CIA researcher. He seems to be a little bit of a hack. It seems crazy. It seems as though they couldn't, and even it says here, let's read a little bit about his thing. This is very important to me, because this is what I call a distraction. So you may not believe me when I say this, but this is what we call a distraction, ladies and gentlemen, because we're having a bunch of unverified garbage. Psychologists David Marks and Richard Coleman attempted to replicate Puthoff and Targ's remote viewing experience in a series of 35 studies. They could not replicate the results. This is very important in science, the ability to replicate the results of a given study. That's why you have peer-reviewed studies, to show that you can actually replicate those results. While investigating the procedure of the original experience, March and Kaufman discovered that the notes given to the judges in Puthoff and Targ experiment contained clues to which order they were carried out. Examples include referring to yesterday's 2 targets, or the inclusion of data of the session written at the top of the page. These clues were the reason the experiments had high rates. So they skewed the results, is what I'm discovering. And he basically has nothing. But by the way, I've read a few of these things. I've actually researched this prior. I'm just showing you guys this. I've read like 4 of these things, and it's all pseudoscience garbage. Even on the thing, they state that he is really good at pseudoscience. Pseudoscience is not verifiable science, essentially. It's just, pseudoscience is, if you want an example of pseudoscience, it would be people saying that my skull shape is making me less intelligent, is what I would say pseudoscience is. But this isn't the only thing I want to talk about when it comes to distractions, because I'm going to get to distraction number 2. Distraction number 2 is the entirety of the Iran war. If Iran surrenders, admits their navy is gone and resting at the bottom of the sea, and their air force is no longer with us, and if their entire military walks out of Tehran, weapons dropped and hands held high, each shouting I surrender, while wildly waving the representative white flag, and with their entire remaining leadership all signs the necessary documents of surrender, and amidst their defeat to the great power and force of the magnificent USA, the failing New York Times, the China Street Journal WSJ, corrupt and now irrelevant CNN, and all the and all members of the fake news media will headline that Iran has a massive and brilliant victory over the U.S. America. It wasn't even close. The Democrats and media have totally lost the way. They have gone absolutely crazy. I am perplexed. Now, I could have made a whole video about this, but I'm not going to. Because I made a whole video about this, be 30 minutes of me just rambling on about Donald Trump and all this stuff with the war. But what I want to talk about is something significantly more important than the fact that our gas prices are going crazy. Donald Trump is actively attacking things. Because I've discovered something, right? If you want to keep a population distracted, you cause a war. You cause a war if you want to keep a population distracted and you don't want them to actually question or think about the things that are actively going on within the said population. So Donald Trump has initiated himself or put himself within a war. We have rising gas prices. It's going to go on for quite some time. We have stress going on with the economy. That's bad. Egg prices still are not down. Milk prices are at an all-time high. We're having horrifying trade deals because of the tariffs. So if we have all these things going on, we have an outside source to blame because Trump, according to him, is never wrong. He has stated countless times that he is never wrong about anything. And I'm not going to continually pull up the clips of him saying he's never wrong because he continually says it over and over again. He just says he's never wrong over and over again. Now then, what I want to talk about in totality is the fact of two things. The full Epstein Files go on display at New York's Media Gallery. I don't know how to say this word. I'm thinking it's saying it's Media. I'm assuming it's Media. Now, the exhibition made up of 3,437 bound documents contains all documents related to the trafficking charges against the late financier Jeffrey Epstein. This is the whole thing. It is a gallery. This is in a gallery. A bound volume of the Epstein Files on the reading room desk, courtesy of the reading room. An exhibition at New York's Media Gallery takes the form of a public library filled with the entirety of the Epstein Files titled The Reading Room. The exhibition is made up of 3,437 bound volumes containing all the documents relating to the charges against the late financier Jeffrey Epstein. The exhibition, free to everyone over the age of 16, is being held by the Washington, D.C. based nonprofit Institute for Primary Facts, which advocates for greater civic literacy. The institute directs you to book an appointment through his website named the Trumpstonian. The exhibit subheading is "The Truth is Hard to Deny When It's Printed Out and Bound for You to See." And that's powerful because people need to physically see certain things. People need to physically look at things that they're being told. In the QA on their website, the reading room states that the Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey Epstein Memorial Reading Room is a physical, undeniable record of corruption, cover-ups, and crime. All 3.5 million pages, 3,475 volumes, and 17,000 pounds of the released and partially redacted Epstein files. Even then, this statement is wildly powerful because they're still showing the aspect that is still partially up. Epstein was charged with trafficking minors between 2002 and 2005 and faced up to 45 years in prison if convicted. He died before he was able to appear in trial. This is very, very important. This whole article is important to me. The files were published after the U.S. Department of Justice came under public pressure to release the information in September 2025. The U.S. House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform released tens of thousands of pages of Epstein-related documents shortly afterwards. Bloomberg obtained and leaked over 18,000 emails from Epstein's personal account. Donald Trump is referenced in over 53,000 files as reported by the New York Times. The reading room also contains a detailed timeline of Trump's and Epstein's relationship and a large memorial to the victims of Epstein. Trump has consistently indicted any wrongdoings in relation to the offender. The organizers have also stated that they are committed to supporting the survivors of Epstein's crimes and have provided contacts for international organizations who provide help to victims of assault and trafficking. This is very, very, very important that this happened very recently. This is new information. This is a new exhibit. This was released on the 18th of May 2026. Now, what is today? The 18th of May 2026. The reason I'm even talking about all this stuff and why this is being so proponent and why this is so important to me is because nobody I see online is talking about the Epstein stuff in greater effect because it's not being covered by the mainstream media. Everybody wants you to forget about the Epstein stuff. I want to talk about this, the fact of Ghislane Maxwell. Oversight members split on whether to pardon Ghislane Maxwell, committee chair says. This is 4 weeks ago. It's very important. This was 4 weeks ago because they're talking about letting Ghislaine Maxwell go free. They are trying to let because nobody's actively trying to get on her case and talk about her. They are actively saying they should let Ghislaine free. The only convicted associate of Jeffrey Epstein has said she would testify to Congress if granted clemency, a power held solely by the president. This is very important because you're probably wondering what is going on here. Now, this is going to sound a little bit insane to hear, but do you know the SAVE Act that's been happening recently? 4 iterations of the SAVE Act have included a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell. 4 iterations of the SAVE Act have included a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell. They revised it down so it no longer includes that, but they were trying to slip that in so Ghislaine Maxwell could get clemency. They were trying to help her out. We are seeing corruption of rates we have never seen because they're out in the open now. I want to point that's very important. That's very important to bring up because nobody's talking about that. I don't know why nobody's talking about that. Not quite sure. Members of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee are divided on whether President Donald Trump should pardon Jeffrey Epstein's convicted co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell in exchange for her cooperation in the panel's Epstein's investigation. Chair James Comer said in an interview on Wednesday, Maxwell, who was exposed by the Oversight Committee as the sole convicted accomplice in the Epstein trafficking scheme, previously invoked her First Amendment right and declined to answer panel questions. Her lawyer has said that she would only speak if granted clemency, a power available solely to Trump, who has not ruled out the prospect of a pardon. So, when asked whether he believed it was a favorable deal to issue a pardon in return for Maxwell's testimony, Comer said, "A lot of people do. My committee split on that," he added, declining to name who on the panel supported granting a pardon. "I don't speak for my committee. They should speak for themselves. We should be allowed to know what our officials are making. These are people that make the decisions of our country. We should be allowed to know who specifically is making which decision so we can know who is making these choices so we can be informed about our politicians. I think it's important to have those names out there, but sadly it's not." Comer himself wasn't in favor. "I think it looks bad," he said. "Honestly, other than Epstein, the worst person in this whole investigation is Maxwell." You know, sure. I think third will be Trump then if we're doing it that by order of descending. Rep. Robert Garcia of California, the Oversight panel's top Democrat, emphasized the committee Democrats unanimously opposed a pardon for Maxwell. Okay, give me the names. I'd love that. "This would be a huge step backwards and quite frankly so disrespectful to the survivors," he said in an interview. "She is a known abuser and she is a known liar. If the DOJ or Oversight Republicans are out there trying to negotiate some sort of pardon, that is not only a huge slap in the face of this investigation to anyone, to the American public," he added. "It's part of a massive cover-up. Pressure has been mounting on the Justice Department to pursue new prosecutions in the Epstein case, particularly after the United Kingdom arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, crazy name, formerly known as Prince Andrew, and former ambassador Pete Mandelson for crimes related to their association with disgraced financier." So, the Oversight Committee's probe work has been complicated by the fact that Maxwell is unwilling to answer questions and the central figure Epstein died behind bars a year ago. Maxwell's lawyer David Oscar Marcus told Politico in an extended interview last month that he believed there was a good chance his client will ultimately be pardoned by the president. Marcus said he reached out to then Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche last year to help facilitate Maxwell's interview with the Department of Justice. She was granted limited immunity for that 2-day conversation and moved to a minimum security prison camp shortly afterwards. In her interview with Blanche, she emphasized that she had not seen Trump engage in impropriety with Epstein. The president's relationship with Epstein had been the source of much intrigue, as Trump has maintained the two had a falling out years ago. Garcia told the Oversight Committee said the Oversight Committee should investigate why and how Maxwell was moved to a different facility after her interview with Blanche. Quite interesting. Quite interesting. Because Ghislaine Maxwell is getting special treatment like private visits with snacks, water bottle delivery to sell, a whistleblower has revealed 3 days ago. 3 days ago. Hold up a second. Let me show you the full article because I'm just realizing that. There we go. Look at the full article right here. She's getting a lot of stuff. A lot of free. Look at that water bottle. That looks nice. Nice little water bottle. Love to see that water bottle for her. Happy she's getting water bottle. And this is Ghislaine Maxwell, the evil scoundrel right here. Ghislaine boasted to her family about getting special treatment behind bars, including private visits with snacks and front-of-the-line access, according to private emails revealed by a former employee of a Texas federal lockup. So she's getting the best. She's getting the best treatment imaginable. Oh, she's getting snacks. She's getting peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Oh, she's doing great. Whistleblower Noelle Tarangic claimed Jeffrey Epstein's madam took advantage of her highly unusual relationship with the jail warden at federal prison Camp Bryant, getting perks other inmates don't, like water bottle and food deliveries to her cell. Quite interesting. Noelle Turnage. Noelle Turnage. Now, I'd like to talk about Noelle Turnage for a moment here because I want to see if Noelle Turnage is safe. Is she safe? I hope Noelle Turnage is safe. I want you to remember the face of this woman if you ever see her obituary in the next coming days. She is not suicidal at all. I want you to remember her face. Noelle Turnage. I really want you to remember her face because people like this go missing when they whistleblow. So I just want to be aware of that. That's very important. What I can tell you is that things that were being done for her are not common for any of the other inmates, not even the other high-profile inmates. Interesting. Turner said, noting she didn't personally encounter Maxwell, but found out about her alleged preferential treatment through the emails. When the disgraced British socialite's family was coming to visit her from the UK, the prison all but rolled out the red carpet for him. Turner said in an interview on CNN's Eric Burnett out front, "I believe they will provide some water, coffee, and snack. You will not go without anything." After flying all the way from the UK, Maxwell allegedly wrote an email to her brother. According to Turnage, also you will arrive to the front like everyone else, but there will be a coned off area for you. Only you will go there. They will be waiting for you from 8 a.m. Quite interesting. Now, if you don't know what the prison facility looks like, it looks like this. In Bryan, this is the prison facility. It's very cozy and comfy. It is extremely comfy. This whole thing, this nonsense, is disgusting to me. I hate every single second of it. And it just wildly grosses me out to see all this nonsense. Okay, enough reading. My eyes burn. I'm not a fan of reading, to be quite fair with you, but every single week now, it feels like somebody is dumping another truckload, it seems, of screaming headlines directly into my skull. Just a bunch of nonsense. Oh, Chuck the Builder is going crazy. This is going on. And a bunch of nonsense there. The Iran war is happening. And I just met with China. And nobody's talked about Epstein in too long. It has been far too long since somebody has talked about Epstein. One of the largest elite connected trafficking scandals in modern history is getting pushed into the background, and I am confused. I'm really confused. There's always another emergency, another culture war, another politician yelling about bathrooms, another billionaire pretending to be relatable. It's disgusting. I hate this. People screamed that names need to come out, demanded accountability, demanded transparency, all this stuff, demanding everything. Remember all that? Remember those demands? Well, they want justice. Now the conversation is buried. So buried. I've seen nobody talk about this. Nobody talk about this. And people whisper about the possibility of Ghislane Maxwell potentially getting pardoned. I'm sickened. I'm wildly sickened. I know society has developed the attention span of, I don't know, a goldfish, perhaps? Maybe if I put some Subway Surfers screenplay on the green. Maybe if I did that, if I put some gameplay of that, we have, I don't know, years ago, this headline would have detonated the internet for like 6 straight months. There would have been documentaries, protests, 27 podcast series narrated by Morgan Freeman. Hopefully that would have been great. The human brain, I don't think was ever designed to process 30 catastrophes all at once. This is what's happening. Information overload does not create awareness anymore. It's creating this paralysis, this emotional static. I know everybody is more concerned about gas prices or more concerned about the fact that groceries are wildly expensive, and I get that. I understand that. But I think the terrifying part of what's happening is how normal this rhythm has become in society. Something massive happens. Everyone screams for about 2 weeks, and then corporations slap hashtags onto products manufactured by children in warehouses, and that's it. That's right. Influencers cry with ring lights, and they have sponsored moisturizer, and then the sponsored moisturizer is by Temu, and Temu has child labor laws that are still getting investigated, and then it just keeps going. This endless drudgery, this cycle, this machine, this Ouroboros just keeps pushing and pushing and pushing. It just needs you distracted temporarily, and that is enough. Because delayed public pressure long enough, and people emotionally migrate toward the next spectacle. That's what happens every time. Right? If I get into a drama, I bring up another drama, that last drama gets forgotten. That's how it works. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Tragedy in winter. Tragedy in spring, tragedy in summer, tragedy in fall. The seasons blend together, the tragedy blends, all of it blends together. It feels like a continuous thing, and I feel like this is haze now. Every app, every single refresh is chemically engineered to destroy any linear thought you could possibly have. There's no timeline for any of this. Open your phone and within 30 seconds, you see war footage, somebody selling protein powder. And the protein powder, by the way, has lead in it. A conspiracy about clones, a celebrity breakup, inflation discourse, AI apocalypse predictions, a guy making macaroons and macaroni in a toilet for views, and another politician pretending they grew up poor. And they're standing in a kitchen that costs more than my entire bloodline over and over again. And the brain starts flattening everything into the same emotional texture because it cannot properly separate existential threats from disposable nonsense anymore. Epstein should not be disposable. We have waited years for it confirmed. Oh, we've heard all these years, the pedophile elites are actively eating everybody and they're destroying people and destroying babies. We've made up these theories for years, all for it to be true. It's to be true. You know what happened when the files got released? Because people trusted Epstein for some odd reason, they were saying, well, Epstein confirmed that they were actually cloning people, and Epstein confirmed that there was aliens. Who cares what Epstein confirmed? Let's talk about what he did. Let's stop talking about all these conspiracy theories and all this pseudo nonsense. Let's get to the main bulk of the actual crimes this horrible monster committed, right? I think people genuinely cared once. People wanted answers because deep down, everybody understood what the Epstein story represented. A terrifying idea, the big idea, that wealth can create invisible kingdoms where there were no consequences. The possibility that people, powerful people, operate under a completely different moral gravity system than normal citizens. That is why this story hit so hard originally. It was never just about Epstein. It's not even about just Epstein. It's about the ecosystem around him, the silence around him, the connections around him, the weird social immunity surrounding rich predators who somehow always seem to know senators or CEOs or tech moguls or royalty or media executive and every third guy photographed at a charity gala holding wine glasses. So strange. So strange. It's odd. It's an ecosystem, and that ecosystem has never faced consequences. You know who's investigating the ecosystem? The ecosystem is investigating the ecosystem. It's insane, right? It's insane to say, well, we're getting a fair and unbiased and impartial judge. No, we're not. We're not. We're getting people who are in power investigating people in power. How convenient for that entire conversation to slowly sink into quicksand while society gets blasted with non-stop noise 24 hours a day. Oversaturation, the greatest camouflage ever invented. People think access to more information automatically creates this inability to be introspective and truthful. No. It's just fog. It's fog. A billion voices screaming simultaneously does not create clarity. It's like a psychic tinnitus inside of your brain. That's all it is. You stop hearing about individual alarms and everything's bad. It's disgusting. And people joke about doom scrolling all the time, like it's a quirky little internet habit. No, we are literally doom scrolling. We are in it's one giant gray soup. That's all it is. One soup. Soup is poisoning us. That's all this is doing. That's all this soup is. That's what it is. They don't end. They don't end, right? Because modern scandals, whenever I hear about a modern scandal, like the David case is going on right now. David thing. What happened with David? Well, you don't know that the process takes too long to actually do that. It's like in a week, we'll learn more about David and it'll become the next news cycle. There's no satisfying conclusion, no emotional revolution, just fragments scatter across this timeline forever while commentators move on to the next monetizable panic attack. Every outrage becomes subscription-based content. You can feel the algorithm rewarding emotional amnesia because platforms thrive on novelty. There's no resolution. There's no resolution for any of this stuff. And the House always wins. The House, the Senate, the jury, all of it, they always win. They always win. And somewhere underneath all this noise, there's actual human beings whose trauma becomes an endless media conveyor belt where stories rise and vanish based on engagement metrics because of nothing. It's nothing. Real pain gets swallowed by the information hurricane, a story that should have been permanently just shattered. It should have just shattered. I'm so agitated. I'm so annoyed. I'm so annoyed by all of this, and nobody's talking about Epstein. I hope that Ghislane Maxwell does not get pardoned, because every day it feels like she's one step closer to getting it happen because we keep forgetting about it. It is disgusting. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about this entire situation in the comment section down below. That's been me. I'm out. Peace. Bye.
I'm your Nick and Night, be my Laurel Ooh, happy to try what you need. Your world, I love to live in it. Ooh, I love the ride when you're free.